Good evening, Little Masters, and welcome to episode 334 of the Prancing Pony Podcast, where Sean sits at his ease, laughing and talking and singing.
While you stump along trying to look stern and important. Well, folks, I'm Sean Marchese, the Lord of the Mark, and I'm here with the Man of the West, who hasn't forgotten where the Green Dragon is, Alan Sisto.
I'll try not to dawdle. Folks, join us as the devastation in the Shire finally comes home for Frodo and Sam in the second of our 5 episodes on the Scouring of the Shire, the 8th chapter in Book 6 of The Lord of the Rings.
I swear, every time I hear the title, I want to see Sam get on his hands and knees with a Brillo pad.
I know.
And start scrubbing the road.
It's like cleaning the floors.
What are you doing, Sam? I'm scouring the Shire.
That's right. Getting rid of those calcium deposits.
Yeah, right.
Gotta make it spick and span from a Rosie.
That's right. That's right. Yep. All right. Well, look, no matter how you arrived, folks, you are all welcome here in the common room. At the Prancing Pony Podcast, we are reading and talking our way through Middle-earth with plenty of speculation and bad jokes along the way, as you can already tell.
So we do love deep dives into the lore, though, and we also enjoy discussing our favorite themes, a whole lot more.
But we try to keep it light and fun, like a couple of friends chatting at the pub. And we're glad you've joined us.
And I'm sure you'll be glad you joined as well. But before we get to tonight's chapter discussion, man, I got to say, it is hard to believe we have another one, and I love it. No complaints here. I am all here for it. It's time for fan favorite Philology Faire. So, Sean, what do you have for us tonight?
All right. Well, tonight, during a confrontation, one of the ruffians calls Frodo a very interesting name. He says, swagger it, my little cock-a-whoop. To which many of us are probably thinking, okay, what does cock-a-whoop mean?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm wondering the same thing. I mean, defining it is kind of the easy part. In fact, that'll actually prove to be the easiest part of this entire segment. So that means I get to do it. The OED says that cock-a-whoop is a variant form of cock-a-hoop, which means elated, overjoyed, exultant, triumphant. As you might have noticed, it's primarily an adjective, although it's used as a noun here, right? The ruffian is calling Frodo a cock-a-whoop, as though it's a noun. He doesn't say Frodo is behaving in a cock-a-whoop fashion.
No, I
kind of wish you would,
imagine that would have the same impact at all. That's not
it wouldn't.
Nearly as threatening. Oh, why are you behaving so cock-a-whoop, sir? So, indeed, yeah, you nailed it on the definition, and I will talk a little bit about the history. So, cock-a-whoop, as we see in the book here with a W, that actually first appeared in the 1700s. But the original form, cock-a-hoop, which appears to still be the most common form, in as much as there is a common form. I mean,
I was going to say,
I've never seen or heard this word outside of this chapter in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But to the extent that it is a word that is still used, the more common form is cock-a-hoop, not cock-a-whoop.
If you say so.
And cock-a-hoop, well, the OED says so, and that's how I know I'm right.
I'm not going to argue with the OED. Yeah, exactly. I might argue with you, Sean, but I'm not going to argue with the OED.
But not with the OED. No, that's fair. That's totally fair. So cock-a-hoop, the more common form, first appeared in the 1500s. And the history of this word is really interesting. And that's partly because we, and by we, I'm again referring to the OED and like some of the world's great lexicographers. We can't figure out exactly where this word comes from.
We as in humanity, not we as in Alan and Sean.
That's correct. Because if it was just Alan and Sean, that's no surprise.
We're done. The segment's over.
Right. Somebody knows, but we don't. We're not going to look it up. Now, what we do know, or what lexicographers do know, or what they think they know, is that cock-a-hoop is likely an abbreviation of the phrase cock on the hoop, or set the cock on the hoop. So if you're like me and you know practically nothing about chickens except for how to barbecue them.
Yeah, that's about it.
You might be thinking, okay, maybe this is like a rooster standing on some kind of a hoop. Like maybe there's like a circular perch and the rooster's standing on it. And
I'm almost thinking like the little hoops in a bird cage, but I'm trying to picture a rooster on that.
That's kind of what I'm thinking of. But again, I don't know if that's really a thing on a farm.
Okay, yeah.
And maybe he's crowing triumphantly. So that's how we get this idea of being exultant. You know, roosters have kind of a reputation in language for being boastful, for being overconfident.
It's true.
That's what we see in terms like cock of the walk, or even just the simple word cocky, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe you'd think that that's what's going on here. Somebody who's cock-a-hoop is acting cocky, strutting like a rooster on a perch.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you? Something tells me, Sean, you are about to tell me that is not what this comes from at all.
Not at all, my friend.
Oh, no.
Because the original meaning of the term cock-a-hoop appears to not have been boastful or triumphant, but just elated or overjoyed. It didn't have this sort of swaggery, cocky meaning at first. It was just really happy, overjoyed. And the earliest appearances of the word in the OED are more associated with revelry and merrymaking, not this cockiness and swagger.
Okay.
Now, before I continue, I need to go on a quick digression about beer.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to get a judge's ruling on that, Sean. What does beer have to do? I mean, maybe you need a beer to get through this segment, but what does beer have to do with the cock-a-hoop?
We will need a beer before this is all done. And look, I know the chief doesn't want me talking about beer, but I don't really care what the chief thinks.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one.
So, okay, let's talk about how beer was distributed and served in the Middle Ages. And not just beer, but, even things like whiskey and stuff like that. Once whiskey was around, distillation was a later development. But anyway, let's use beer as our example.
Okay. My local booze expert. It's good to have one. Yeah.
It's good to be good at something.
All right.
So in the Middle Ages, beer was distributed primarily in barrels, not bottles. It was distributed in barrels and it was served on draft at the tavern. And folks listening at home, if you're playing the PPP drinking game right now, you're going to want to take a drink every time I make Alan giggle like a 12-year-old in this next part.
No.
Because we'll see how much of this gets edited. Because if you have beer in a barrel, as opposed to a bottle or can, well, the first thing you need to do is you need to get the beer out of the barrel and into a mug to serve it, right?
Right, of course.
And that means putting a hole in the barrel.
Oh.
Well, this hole was called a bunghole.
Of course. Beavis and Butthead references abide, yes.
Yes, and that's the literal meaning of the word bunghole, not whatever Beavis and Butthead we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we're totally dating ourselves with that.
Oh, we really are, man.
In some cases, the bunghole would be pre-drilled.
Right.
And there'd be a stopper in the bunghole called a bung that you'd remove to get the beer out.
Right.
In other cases, the barrel would be completely sealed, and you'd have to have tools on hand to drill your own bunghole. But regardless of how you get the bunghole open, once you do, you insert a spigot. I know. It's hard to get through some of this without laughing.
I'm not giggling like a 12-year-old.
Once the bunghole's open, you put a spigot in the bunghole. Right. And you can picture a wooden spigot with a tapered end that you can stick into the bunghole and a valve that you can open or close to control the flow of beer.
Well, right.
This spigot was called, and I promise I am not making this up, this spigot was called a stopcock or simply cock.
Okay, so now Okay. If you tell me that's the case, I'm just going to sit here and say, yes, sir. Go ahead.
It is the case, I promise.
I believe you, 100%.
So, under normal conditions, once I'm going to choose my terms very carefully. Once the spigot is in the hole.
Yeah, watch out. I don't want to put an explicit tag on this episode,
right,
Sean.
Exactly. I'm trying to avoid that. Once the spigot's in the hole, you just open the valve to fill a mug, and then you twist it closed when it's done.
Right.
But supposedly, if a party was really wild and people were having a great time, they'd be drinking faster than they can fill the mugs. And so the server would just leave the stopcock open. Or in some cases, they would just take the stopcock out of the hole in the barrel.
Which maybe that's what you want to do in the first place. I mean,
maybe, I don't know. But then the beer just pours freely out of the barrel, which kind of sounds like a mess.
Well, somebody has to be there to catch all, fill all the mugs very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're going to waste some beer, but
yeah, that's a shame.
That's the story. So anyway, all that aside, getting back to our etymology, the story believed by early lexicographers was that this was the origin of the phrase cock on the hoop. People are having a great time. They're drinking really fast. Somebody's going to take the spigot out of the hole and place it on top of the barrel, on the hoop of the barrel. So thus, the cock is on the hoop.
Oh, wow.
And then the people who are now enjoying this constant stream of alcohol flowing out are said to be cock-a-hoop. They're totally overjoyed. They're making merry all night long.
Right.
And that is the etymology, 12-year-old boy worthy jokes aside,
right.
That is the etymology put forth by a lexicographer named Thomas Blunt in 1670 in a dictionary he wrote called Glossographia.
I want to make a joke about his last name. He's not just drinking, he's smoking something.
Right. See?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
12-year-old jokes abound.
That's the
in this
thing. I
segment.
mean, I'm just trying, I'm digging deep, trying to remember what it was like being 12 because it was only
Right.
like, a flipping century ago. So Blunt's story is the
You
story
look great,
anyway.
by the way, for 112.
That's right.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you have a ring?
Oh, so this is just Blunt's theory, and it's probably pretty speculative, though I got to say, I actually enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, maybe because it's borderline profane. I don't know. But people took his theory as true for centuries. Interestingly, though, modern lexicographers aren't convinced that this is really where the term cock-a-hoop comes from. Maybe it's like it sounds too good to be true.
Right.
More recent theories actually point to the fact that there are lots and lots of pub signs in England, some that date all the way back to the 1300s, that feature an animal on a hoop. Heart on the hoop, swan on the hoop, hen on the hoop, and yes, cock on the hoop. Not to mention crown on the hoop, angel on the hoop, and many, many, many more all on a hoop.
A lot of things on hoops.
I don't understand it. Maybe it's because of the hoop on the barrel. I don't know.
Maybe.
Whatever the case, these are all attested pub names in England that go back well before the appearance of cock-a-hoop as a word in the 1500s. So it's possible that these are evidence of some trope about animals on hoops that inspired the term cock-a-hoop, rather than Blunt's theory about spigots and bungholes.
That's right. And I kind of hope that one of those other theories is true.
I really hope so, too. Yeah.
Having told that whole story.
Yeah, I know.
Still others have suggested that cock-a-hoop may be a translation of a French phrase, coq à hooper, where hooper means a tuft or crest on a bird's head. So the theory there is that cock-a-hoop might mean like a rooster with its crest standing up.
Yeah.
Or comb, I guess it's called, which technically I believe is how a rooster keeps himself cool. But I don't know, maybe centuries ago, maybe people thought that was a sign of pride or bravado or swagger or something like that. I mean, these are all just theories.
Yeah. I guess we don't really know. We'll never actually know the real explanation. Just like we'll never know exactly how cock-a-hoop became cock-a-whoop with the W, as Tolkien spells it here. Yep. But the meaning is clear enough. The ruffian is accusing Frodo of being overconfident or cocky. Maybe if Han Solo had been there, he'd have just told Frodo, "Don't get cocky, kid."
But that would never happen, Alan, because the chief hires ruffians. Han Solo's a scoundrel.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
The ruffian scoundrel distinction. I love that.
Right.
Brilliant.
Or he's a nice man,
Well, yeah.
Princess Leia likes nice men.
Anyway. Yeah, that's what you say.
All right. Well, thank you for indulging me with that segment, Alan.
You might want to thank our listeners for that one, actually, rather than me.
And apologize.
Yes,
actually.
Please do.
But that was a lot of fun. And now it is time to dive back into the Scouring of the Shire, isn't it? And you are going to read the first passage tonight.
Indeed, I will. The Shirriff house at Frogmorton was as bad as the Bridge house. It had only one story, but it had the same narrow windows, and it was built of ugly, pale bricks, badly laid. Inside, it was damp and cheerless, and supper was served on a long, bare table that had not been scrubbed for weeks. The food deserved no better setting. The travelers were glad to leave the place. It was about 18 miles to Bywater, and they set off at 10 o'clock in the morning. They would have started earlier, only the delay so plainly annoyed the sheriff leader. The west wind had shifted northward, and it was turning colder, but the rain was gone. It was rather a comic cavalcade that left the village, though the few folk that came out to stare at the get-up of the travelers did not seem quite sure whether laughing was allowed. A dozen sheriffs had been told off as escort to the prisoners, but Merry made them march in front, while Frodo and his friends rode behind. Merry, Pippin, and Sam sat at their ease, laughing and talking and singing, while the sheriffs stumped along trying to look stern and important. Frodo, however, was silent and looked rather sad and thoughtful. The last person they passed was a sturdy old gaffer clipping a hedge. "Hello, hello," he jeered. "Now who's arrested who?" Two of the sheriffs immediately left the party and went towards him. "Leader," said Merry, "order your fellows back to their places at once if you don't want me to deal with them." The two hobbits at a sharp word from the leader came back sulkily. "Now get on," said Merry. And after that, the travelers saw to it that their ponies' pace was quick enough to push the sheriffs along as fast as they could go. The sun came out, and in spite of the chilly wind, they were soon puffing and sweating. At the 3 farthing stone, they gave it up. They had done nearly 14 miles with only one rest at noon. It was now 3 o'clock. They were hungry and very footsore, and they could not stand the pace. "Well, come along in your own time," said Mary. "We are going on." "Goodbye, Cock Robin," said Sam. "I'll wait for you outside the Green Dragon if you haven't forgotten where that is. Don't dawdle on the way." "You're breaking a rest, that's what you're doing," said the leader ruefully, "and I can't be answerable." "We shall break a good many things yet and not ask you to answer," said Pippin. "Good luck to you." I love
Pippin.
Pippin's
I
great.
love that moment. That's so great.
We are not done breaking things. I love it.
Love it.
What a passage. So much fun.
It's so much fun. I love this whole chapter so much. It's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's discuss this. So, surprising precisely no one, the Shirriff house here at Frogmorton is just as unpleasant as the place they saw near the bridge the night before.
That's right.
It's ugly. And you know what? It's not even bad design built with good quality. Right. We're told that the bricks are badly laid.
Badly designed, badly built, just shoddy all around. Yeah.
Just awful.
Same architect designed this awful place, probably at 2 a.m. with some of the beer that nobody else is allowed to have.
Right.
It's so bad that both the food and the table deserve each other. And that, frankly, for hobbits more than anybody else, seems really, really unjust, doesn't it?
It really does. Because, I mean, hobbits really they value these sorts of things.
They do.
Don't they? They value simple beauty. They value, they're not great artists or craftsmen, but they value these kinds of simple pleasures and sort of taking pride in the simple things like home and food and, and time together. And, everything here is sort of like mass produced in an ugly, low quality way. Yeah.
It really is. And it just seems like it's indicative, right? This is just another thing that, as you've kind of gone around this, but it's just another thing that's being taken away from the hobbits. They don't have pipeweed. They don't have beer. Now they don't even have good food.
Right.
Yeah.
So they end up leaving at 10 a.m. the next morning, and that would be the morning of November the 2nd. Mm-hmm. And they aim to cover the 18 miles to Bywater. And remember that it was 22 miles from the bridge to here.
Right.
Again,
maybe.
This is according to Tolkien's distances as given in this chapter, which we talked about last time. There's some inconsistency there with other Shire measurements.
True.
But let's go ahead and stick with them for this discussion here.
That's fair. So 10 a.m., lately, that seems like a late start. I mean, the hobbits do tend to get started early. They certainly left Bree very early, though in fairness, that's because it's a lot farther from Bree to the bridge than it is from Frogmorton to Bywater. I like this. They could have left earlier. They were certainly, up and ready to go, but they just found that annoying that two-feather leader guy was just too much fun.
I love that. It's just a great little way of thumbing their nose at
exactly.
them. Like, you know what?
Exactly. We're not doing what you want.
Yeah,
That's
we're not doing what you want. We're not taking any of this seriously.
No.
And when they head out, speaking of not taking things seriously, the narrative actually describes this comic cavalcade.
Love that.
A whole troop of sheriffs were to escort the prisoners, making air quotes when I say that. But they're actually leading the way with our heroes riding behind, laughing and singing, just having a good time.
Yeah.
Except for Frodo. Frodo is quiet and sad and deep in thought. And I have to believe that Frodo is just probably internalizing this a bit more than his friends because he's just more affected by what's happened to the Shire.
And I think I can understand that. I mean, he's the one who has gone through the most in terms of the attempt to save the Shire, as we'll see, and it's costing him everything.
Yeah.
And having paid that price to see this
happening despite everything that he sacrificed to save the Shire. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I don't know. I don't want to say that he's given up hope yet because he hasn't, but it does seem like the other three are more optimistic about their ability to turn this around and make it something else.
Yeah.
And to fix the problems. And maybe it's because they don't yet see how deep the problems are. I think Sam will see it along with Frodo when they get to Bywater. But it comes back to, I think, how Frodo, really since Mount Doom, since even the climb to Mount Doom, not just destroying the ring, but it's felt like he was just pushing to push. Like he sort of lacked the hope that Sam had. Like Sam was the guy who had the hope that they would get this done and then return. And Frodo was like, I just want us to accomplish this and then we die. I mean,
Yeah.
he had no hope beyond that moment. And I don't know that he's got a lot of hope even now.
You could be right. Another possibility I thought of is just the idea that maybe because Merry, Pippin, and Sam have not gone through quite what Frodo went through.
Yeah.
Sam came close,
Mm-hmm.
closer than the others, obviously. But, for them, this is just another adventure is probably the wrong word, but it's just another obstacle to overcome.
It's another chapter
in their journey. It's another obstacle to overcome. Okay. We fought ring wraiths, we fought trolls, we fought Gollum, we fought all these things, and this is just one more thing we have to fight. We can do this. And maybe that's why they're in better spirits. Whereas Frodo, similar to what you were talking about, he is so traumatized by what he's gone through.
Yeah.
He, like you said, he was ready to lay down his life and die. And not only has he not gotten a chance to do that, but now the rest that he thought he was going home to, he's not getting. And couple that with what you were saying a moment ago, but he did all of that for the Shire, to see the Shire come to this when he is sacrificed so much. I think it's all of these things, probably.
I think it is. I'd almost add that maybe he's already fearing the violence that might be necessary, but the way he responds later when he says fight ? Like I don't know if yet he'd thought about that violence.
That's true.
So I almost went there and I thought, no, I don't think he's gone there yet, because he just literally hasn't even considered that as an option. And he didn't know that it was, likely to happen, but we'll see how he comes to that later. Interestingly, in earlier drafts of this chapter, it's actually Frodo who makes the sheriffs march in front. There's actually no mention of him being sorrowful or thoughtful. And that's one of those big differences that we see between the drafts and the final version.
And that's very consistent with the same sort of personality shift we see in Frodo towards this final version. Yeah.
So comic or not, nobody knows whether they're even allowed to laugh. I mean, laughing might be a crime. Wanting to laugh at the sheriffs might be one of the violations of the rules that might get thrown in the lockholes.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Honestly, look at them funny. You're going to get thrown in the lockholes. Exactly. So why not add laughing to that list? By the way, just a quick little bit of word nerdery on the word cavalcade. This is a word of late 16th century origin. It's a noun, obviously, and it means a formal procession of people walking on horseback or riding in vehicles.
Okay.
And it comes through French from Italian cavalcata, which comes from a verb cavalcare, meaning to ride. And this is the same root as cavalry, for instance. It's the Latin word cabalus, which means horse.
Yeah. Exactly. So as this cavalcade gets to the edge of town, an old man mocks them and appears to be about to pay some sort of price. I don't know whether it's a threat or actually arrest, drag into the lockholes, whatever. When Merry lays down the new rules, leave him alone. Yeah. Get you guys back in line.
You're not taking this guy
exactly.
Anywhere. Leave him alone.
I do want to observe one thing, right? Because he says leader. Throughout this whole ordeal, ever since they arrived at Frogmorton the night before, this leader has been unnamed and continues to be unnamed. Here, in a way, it serves to sort of dehumanize him, or I guess dehobbitize him, but it makes him less than the other hobbits, right? I mean, we get Robin Smallborough's name, and we get the name of the guy.
Hob Hayward.
Hayward, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think the fact that we don't know who this guy is interesting.
I think you're right. I mean, even orcs are sometimes given names in this
That's
book.
true. Yeah. Shagrat and Gorbag and all those guys. Yeah.
But this hobbit does not have a name. And I think it does dehumanize him. It reduces him to his job,
to the
his
role.
Function,
exactly.
His role. Yeah.
And there's also maybe, I don't know, this is now I'm getting into sort of the meta stuff of, who wrote the book down and, who wrote these things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe once everything was all said and done and the Shire gets scoured, Sam's finished cleaning the floor with the CLR and he's got the simple green and, once it's all scoured.
All the lime deposits.
Exactly. He's got everything done. All the hard water stains are scrubbed away. Now, once he's scoured the place, we don't shame by naming the guys who were on the wrong side. We don't name the spies. We don't name this two-feather guy because it's all in the past now. I don't know.
That's interesting.
It just literally just crossed my mind as we were talking about it.
That's an interesting thought because the ones that we've talked about so far that have been named are the ones that...
Yeah, they know what they're doing is wrong and they don't want to do it.
And they come back over quickly.
Yeah.
I kind of like that idea. That's a cool headcanon thing.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's totally speculative, I know. But I do like the idea of, since hobbits are the ones writing this history, we're not going to name and shame these people who made a choice that, look, there, but for the grace of Iluvatar go I, I mean, in the sense of trying to just get along,
Yeah.
So Yeah.
I like that. That's actually
Yeah.
a really cool explanation.
All right, then.
Let's go with it. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
New headcanon.
All right. So back to the text. More than just getting the sheriffs in line, our hobbits then pick up the pace on horseback in order to wear these dozen sheriffs out.
I love it.
Because these guys are not nearly in as good a shape as our heroes
No,
are.
no. Well, when you have only a dozen for the entire Shire, they're in good shape. Those 12 are moving around a lot. Now that they've got like 300 or more.
They're covering a very small beat.
Yeah.
They're not getting around much. Yeah.
I'd say they're eating donuts, but I don't think the chief is letting them eat donuts.
He's definitely not letting them go have beer.
No, that's true. That is
I don't
true.
know. What? Probably just bad coffee. Who knows?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
After covering almost 14 miles in 5 hours, because it's now just after 3 p.m.,
right.
they are exhausted and their feet hurt.
Yep. So if we assume a rest of 1 hour, because remember they left a little after 10 and it's just after 3 now, so 5 hours, but let's assume they rested for 1 hour. That's 14 miles in 4 hours. That's 3.5 miles an hour. That's a 17-minute mile pace, folks. That's a walking pace. It's actually not pushing very fast.
Yeah.
It is just a bit more than the average walking speed for a person, which is about 3 miles per hour.
Right.
These are hobbits with short legs, so maybe it is it just feels a little harder, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like they're working them that hard.
It doesn't seem like that fast of a pace, like you said.
Even with an hour rest, 14 miles in 4 hours is not unheard of.
Right.
I mean, really.
That's a really good point.
I'd like to think I could do that.
And if they rested, then they should have been quite refreshed by that rest.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if that rest was at noon and lasted an hour. That means they basically did 2 hours and then an hour off and then 2 hours.
Right. Yeah.
With each 2 hour section covering 7 miles, that's
nothing.
Not bad at all. Especially relatively flat land. Yeah.
As you said, hobbit legs. That probably is a factor.
Yeah, that does sort of increase the pace. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the 3 farthing stone,
yeah,
Tolkien describes this in his unfinished index as on the east road, a junction of lands of west, south, and east farthings.
Right.
Now, we pointed out last time the challenge of this being supposedly as near the center of the Shire as no matter, which doesn't really work out with the measurements we talked about last time.
Right.
And it turns out we're not alone. Barbara Strachey, in her book Journeys of Frodo, made a similar observation.
That's right. She writes, there is a slight problem here. It is clearly stated that Frogmorton was 22 miles from the bridge and the 3 farthing stone just under 14 miles west of Frogmorton and 4 miles east of Bywater. But both the Scouring and the prologue say that the stone was as near to the center of the Shire as no matter, while the Shire is said in the prologue to have stretched 50 leagues, that's 150 miles from Brandywine to Westmarch, and nearly 50 leagues from north to south.
Now, she goes on from there, and she actually proposes a solution that we didn't think about last time. She says, my reckoning also makes the Shire some 150 miles from east to west. But this being so, the stone can only have been central in a north-south direction, unless the Hobbit's no matter was unusually elastic.
As it probably was. But I do like that. Like it is on the
They're
north,
probably not
south.
all that specific when it comes to
it's a vaguely sort of in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody lives in the farthest part of the West Farthing. It's just a bunch of empty land,
Right.
But
yeah.
It makes sense to just make it the center of the Shire on a north-south basis. Okay, that fits. Yeah. We can go with that.
I think that's fair. I still would not consider that the center, but
No, I wouldn't either, but is it the center of the population? I mean, like, you think about,
Right.
Let's say the continental United States, the center of the country is probably in Kansas or Missouri or something like
Right.
that. You might not call that the middle of the country. You might move to another population center. I mean, sure, maybe St. Louis or Kansas City, maybe they're not geographically central, but they're the most
populous places close to the center.
Right.
Yeah.
And that might be what they're going with, since the Hobbits and Bywater complex is a pretty populated area in the Shire.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That could be it.
I have no clue. I still go with the idea that Tolkien just sort of forgot that he'd said that.
That's kind of what I think.
Yeah. I mean, there's not very many of those incidents.
He was such a stickler for these kinds of things, but I mean, come on. Lots of details to keep track of.
Exactly. And this last chapter did get redrafted a number of times
Right.
too. So it's certainly easy to consider that he might have just let that go.
Right.
So then, of course, our hobbits leave the sheriffs behind with Merry telling them they're going to go on. Sam saying goodbye to Robin Smallborough. And I love the leaders saying, well, you're breaking arrest. I can't be responsible for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Whatever. Yeah.
I mean, again, like we talked about when you finished the reading.
Great.
Pippin's not the least bit worried about that. Oh, we're going to break a whole lot more than just this arrest. And
That's
you won't be
right.
answering for any of it.
That's right.
Now,
I love it. Yeah.
As much as I love this moment for Pippin, it's interesting that in the drafts, it's actually Frodo who says this, not Pippin. And that's interesting. Again, Frodo being a bit more aggressive, maybe, a bit more confrontational than he is in the final version.
Yeah.
And while so far the drafts haven't differed that much, that actually is going to change in a bit. So
Yeah.
we'll digress as best we can.
Well, and we're going to break a lot more than just a rest. We're going to actually break for ads. Now, we'll get back just in time to the hobbits on their way to Bywater shortly, but first we want to remind you that there is a lot more talk going on at the Prancing Pony podcast than just us.
That's right. The PPP has an amazing listener community. They're always coming up with great questions and awesome discussions across all of our social media spaces. Check out our common room on Facebook, our dedicated subreddit, Twitter, and more.
Now on Facebook, just look for the Prancing Pony Podcast. Follow the page to get the news and episodes, but you're going to want to join the group to get in some great discussions.
Or if you prefer Reddit, you can find us there at r/prancingponypod. And on Twitter and Instagram, we're simply at prancingponypod.
And don't forget that you can get daily Tolkien content when you subscribe to Today's Tolkien Times on YouTube and all your favorite podcast apps. It's my short format daily show with everything from Word Nerd Wednesdays, don't judge me, Sean, to Second Age Saturdays. Be sure to check it out at youtube.com/@TolkienTimes and follow @TolkienTimes on all your social media. Well, Sean, I'm going to have you pick up with some large, ill-favored men. No, I'm not talking about you.
Well, it's fair. I mean, I can't argue with that. All right. The travelers trotted on. And as the sun began to sink towards the White Downs far away on the western horizon, they came to Bywater by its wide pool. And there they had their first really painful shock. This was Frodo and Sam's own country, and they found out now that they cared about it more than any other place in the world. Many of the houses that they had known were missing. Some seemed to have been burned down. The pleasant row of old hobbit holes in the bank on the north side of the pool were deserted, and their little gardens that used to run down bright to the water's edge were rank with weeds. Worse, there was a whole line of the ugly new houses all along poolside, where the Hobbiton Road ran close to the bank. An avenue of trees had stood there. They were all gone. And looking with dismay up the road towards Bag End, they saw a tall chimney of brick in the distance. It was pouring out black smoke into the evening air. Sam was beside himself. "I'm going right on, Mr. Frodo," he cried. "I'm going to see what's up. I want to find my gaffer." "We ought to find out first what we're in for, Sam," said Merry. "I guess that the chief will have a gang of ruffians handy. We had better find someone who will tell us how things are around here." But in the village of Bywater, all the houses and holes were shut, and no one greeted them. They wondered at this, but they soon discovered the reason of it. When they reached the Green Dragon, the last house on the Hobbiton side, now lifeless and with broken windows, they were disturbed to see 6 large, ill-favored men lounging against the inn wall. They were squint-eyed and sallow-faced. "Like that friend of Bill Ferny's at Bree," said Sam. "Like many that I saw at Isengard," muttered Merry.
Mm-hmm. So the afternoon passes on, going back to the beginning of that passage. The sun goes towards the horizon, and they get to Bywater late in the day. Now, assuming they go at that same pace that they were pushing the Shirriff, so about 3.5 miles per hour, this would have been just a little over an hour later, so probably around 4:15 or so.
So in other words, it's definitely still daylight when they get to Bywater.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are perfectly capable of seeing the destruction that has come home to their own part of the Shire. And this is just heartbreaking, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. I mean, seeing the damage has made them realize just how much they care about this place. And, like we talked about before, Frodo did what he did for the Shire. And now seeing the devastation and obviously, as we've noted before, observing all the changes that have been, things that he's noticed on the way in, it just brings home how much they love this place. They love home. Yeah. And I think for Sam, it's really a rude awakening, even more so than for Frodo.
Because And maybe this was another thing that was going through Frodo's mind when he was deep in thought on the way in. Maybe he was wondering, oh my gosh,
Right.
what's happened to home? You know, maybe he was already thinking that this might happen.
Because if that's where the chief is taken up, right? If he's been in Bag End and, oh man.
Then maybe that's where the damage is the worst. And maybe he was kind of expecting this. I could see Sam not expecting it.
Yeah, not thinking ahead like that. Yeah.
Right. And so that could be why Sam is really, really beside himself at this point.
This is hard.
And so what is this damage? You know, what does it look like now? I mean, we see houses, homes of people they knew.
Yeah.
They knew these people. This was their neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Those homes just gone, and some of them apparently burned.
Oh,
the hobbit holes on the water were abandoned, and the gardens are now filled with weeds. Gardens. These are hobbits. They love their gardens.
Exactly.
They love good tilled earth.
And Sam seeing that would be utterly brokenhearted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this pool that the text talks about, this is Bywater Pool, and it's the pond. If we go back to Mount Doom, Sam thinks about this place. This is sort of a lifeline for him as he's in the very darkest place on Arda, right? Through all his thoughts, there came the memory of water, and every brook or stream or fount that he had ever seen under green willow shades or twinkling in the sun danced and rippled for his torment behind the blindness of his eyes. He felt the cool mud about his toes as he paddled in the pool at Bywater with Jolly Cotton and Tom and Nibs and their sister Rosie. Man, that's this place.
That is this place.
Yeah.
And it's, oh man, it's got to be, it's depressing to read. It's got to be depressing.
It is. It's gutting to read. And I just, for Sam especially, it's just going to hit him so hard. We've observed all along how emotional he is, how he is the sort of the heart, the emotional heart of the hobbits. And we're going to see that for sure.
And not only are the hobbit holes abandoned, but there's a whole row of these new homes, right? These ugly new houses, these poorly designed, poorly built houses that are built in the style of the Shirriff house and the bridge house near the road to Hobbiton.
Yeah. Which of course means that the trees are gone.
Yeah.
And this is devastating. And I think this might be, I mean, we often try to see this through the eyes of the characters. What's Frodo thinking? What's Sam thinking? I think this is a spot, though, where we would do well to remember Tolkien's own personal deep love for trees when we read this, in order to really grasp the scale and scope of the devastation that he's describing. Letter 165, he writes, I am, obviously, much in love with plants, and above all, trees, and always have been. And I find human maltreatment of them as hard to bear as some find ill treatment of animals.
And in letter number 241, he speaks of some of that maltreatment. He says, there was a great tree, a huge poplar with vast limbs, visible through my window even as I lay in bed. I loved it and was anxious about it. It had been savagely mutilated some years before, but had gallantly grown new limbs, though of course not with the unblemished grace of its former natural self. And now a foolish neighbor was agitating to have it felled. Every tree has its enemy. Few have an advocate. Too often the hate is irrational, a fear of anything large and alive, and not easily tamed or destroyed, though it may clothe itself in pseudo-rational terms.
Wow. He goes on, in no uncertain terms, this fool said that it could cut off the sun from her house and garden, and that she feared for her house if it should crash in a high wind. I love that because he sets it up like, okay, these are her complaints, and then facts, right? So he says, it stood due east of her front door across a wide road at a distance nearly thrice its total height. Thus, only about the equinox would it even cast a shadow in her direction, and only in the very early morning one that reached across the road to the pavement outside her front gate. And any wind that could have uprooted it and hurled it on her house would have demolished her and her house without any assistance from the tree. Receipts.
I love the physics he brings into it.
I know.
It's great. Like,
it is awesome. And it's like, yep.
Yeah.
Curvature of the earth, man.
This lady brought petty complaints to a science fight. She didn't know she was getting into a science fight.
I do, though.
Doing trigonometry, and he's like figuring out the...
I know. He's like drawing sketches like Stonehenge and the equinox and
the sun coming in this way, and if the tree falls. Oh, man, it's great.
It is awesome. I will say, though, that I do love the footnote to this. After he says this fool, there's a little asterisk, and we read, only in this respect hatred of trees. She was a great and gallant lady. I love that.
Ah,
Because it still shows
Yeah.
his kind heart. And it's really so different from the way we experience things today, right? I mean, if only modern people could see that a person could still be great and gallant, even if they hold an opinion with which they passionately disagree. But
right. Yeah.
I
No.
digress.
Yeah. You don't see a lot of that on social media when people are arguing
No.
about things. No, you
Absolutely
don't.
not.
You're great and gallant, but yeah, no.
I disagree with you passionately on this. You're a fool here, but you're a great and gallant person. Yeah.
That
no.
would be a welcome change from the
Wouldn't
usual
it?
vitriol that you see. Yeah.
I know. Really would. Oh,
Well, back to Tolkien, famously also in letter 339 to the editor of the Daily Telegraph. This was going back to a June 29th, 1972 article that was called Forestry and Us. And it included a line. You remember this one, right?
yeah.
It included a line that read, "Sheep walks where you could once ramble for miles are transformed into a kind of Tolkien gloom
Ooh.
where no bird sings."
Oh, you don't get to say that.
No. I mean, this is 1972, so obviously Lord of the Rings was well known by this time.
Cultural
So, yeah,
phenomenon by this point. Yeah.
Right. So somebody's trying to make a clever pop culture reference by saying this. Tolkien was not happy with
Tell
it.
me you haven't read the books without saying you haven't read the books.
Right. Totally. You are so right about that. And that's kind of what Tolkien's response was. He actually wrote into the Daily Telegraph and said, "Dear sir."
Dear sir. You know you're in trouble when Tolkien writes,
Tolkien says,
Dear sir.
You know you're in trouble. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm like, oh, look out now.
That's the equivalent of for a kid, come here, young man.
Uh-oh. It's middle name usage right there.
Right. Yeah. See, I gave my kids 2 middle names so I'd have
Ooh,
options.
double trouble. Yeah.
See, I can use one middle name when
And then amp it up.
they're sort of in trouble, and then I can amp it up.
Nice. I never thought of that.
And then I can just use their second middle name if I just want to confuse them.
All right. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to digress.
All good.
Yeah.
Dear sir, with reference to the Daily Telegraph of June 29th, page 18, I feel that it is unfair to use my name as an adjective qualifying gloom, especially in a context dealing with trees. In all my works, I take the part of trees as against all their enemies. Lothlorien is beautiful because there the trees were loved. Elsewhere, forests are represented as awakening to consciousness of themselves. The old forest was hostile to 2-legged creatures because of the memory of many injuries. Fangorn Forest was old and beautiful, but at the time of the story tense with hostility because it was threatened by a machine-loving enemy. Mirkwood had fallen under the domination of a power that hated all living things, but was restored to beauty and became Greenwood the Great before the end of the story.
That's right. Now, Tolkien concludes the letter by saying, it would be unfair to compare the Forestry Commission with Sauron, because, as you observe, it is capable of repentance. But nothing it has done that is just, he's so good at this letter, I can't help but laugh.
I know. That's the only thing keeping them from being Sauron.
Yeah, exactly. It's just their capability to repent. That's it. That's the only thing. But nothing it has done that is stupid compares with the destruction, torture, and murder of trees perpetrated by private individuals and minor official bodies. The savage sound of the electric saw is never silent wherever trees are still found growing. Yours faithfully, J.R.R. Tolkien.
Wow.
Mic drop.
Powerful letter.
Absolutely powerful. So I think what we've done by taking that little sidebar is point out just how clear it is that the destruction of the trees is as significant as the loss of the hobbit holes, maybe even more so. And honestly, we've yet to see the very worst loss of a tree. We won't even see it in this episode.
You're right. I know.
Yeah.
That's going to be heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, back to the text. They look up the road towards Hobbiton. So they're looking up the hill towards Bag End, and they see a brick chimney belching out smoke into the clean Shire sky. Sam is just beside himself, and he's rightly concerned about his father. He doesn't want to wait. He intends to go up there right now.
Merry is wise here, right? He suggests we really do need to do a little recon. I mean, we're going into the headquarters of the enemy here. There are likely to be ruffians here, and we need to know just what we're up against. Let's get some local help, right? Let's find out from the locals who are living here how many they are, where they're placed, what are we dealing with?
Merry really kind of stepping into the role as chief strategist.
He's the
here,
commander, right? He's the guy
yeah.
who's running the show here militarily.
Yeah.
But they soon find out there is no local help. All the homes are shut. Nobody is out there. Nobody's there to welcome them back home. This is their home. Well, I mean, it's Frodo and Sam's home. And there's nobody there to say, wow, welcome back after this year plus that you've been gone, where you've saved the entire world.
Right.
But soon they see exactly why all the houses are shut, don't they?
They do. So they get to the Green Dragon, which appears abandoned and damaged.
Oh, so sad.
And they see 6 half-orcs. Now, these guys are not described as half-orcs exactly, so you might be thinking, what are you talking about, Sean?
We're adding that in here. That's our own addition.
It's easy to miss.
Right.
And I will admit that I missed it until Alan pointed me to it. They absolutely are, we think. Let's start with the fact that they're described as ill-favored, squint-eyed, and sallow-faced.
Yeah.
Now, before we explain why that makes them half-orcs, I just want to say a couple of words about the terms themselves.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's been a while since we talked about those.
It has been a while since we talked about that. As a reminder, we talked about this back in episode 123.
Boy, that has been a while.
Christopher Tolkien actually explained not long ago, I think this was in like a 2005 letter.
I think it was.
He explained that squint-eyed in British English means eyes that have a squint or strabismus.
Yeah.
Meaning basically that one or both eyes looks off obliquely in a weird direction. It's kind of like cross-eyed is what I gather from that. And we think it's meant to convey a kind of a shifty side eye kind of look.
Right. So it has nothing to do with like the folds of your eye, the epicanthic folds or anything like that.
Right.
So this isn't an ethnic reference in any way.
It does not appear to be. And we actually had a couple of ophthalmologists or optometrists, I think, wrote into us when we did this a long time ago. And they told us, actually, this is what a squint means. So, so I'm pretty confident with that. This other word, sallow, does mean having a yellow skin color. It is typically used of sort of a sickly yellow skin color. It's kind of like you'd say jaundiced.
Yeah.
So again, I don't think that these are racially motivated terms. I certainly understand how people would have a reaction to
I was going to say, I mean, we can say that about Tolkien's intent on this case, but we can certainly also recognize that people are going to take them that way. And that's your experience.
And, and I don't blame people for taking them that way. But, looking at what we think Tolkien intended here, I mean, it seems like he had other ideas. And
that's not defending everything that he's ever said, because we've talked about that in our episodes on race, and we know there's some other things that are a little more, borderline. But
some things where his intentions don't seem to have been, as clearly pure. But this one, we think that his intentions were not to make a racial connotation here.
Yeah.
But, again, totally understand and appreciate that people are going to read this and have a reaction to it.
100%. It's true.
So that's the words themselves. But now let's go back to Flotsam and Jetsam for a reminder of how these terms fit with the idea of these guys being half-orcs. Mm-hmm.
So Merry is retelling the story of the attack of the Ents on Isengard. Actually, he's about to retell that part of the story. At this point in his retelling, the Ents are on the verge of attack when horns blare and Saruman's forces head out on the march. Merry says, "He emptied Isengard. I saw the enemy go, endless lines of marching orcs, and troops of them mounted on great wolves. And there were battalions of men, too. Many of them carried torches, and in the flare I could see their faces. Most of them were ordinary men, rather tall and dark-haired, and grim, but not particularly evil-looking. But there were some others that were horrible, man-high, but with goblin faces, sallow, leering, squint-eyed. Do you know, they reminded me at once of that southerner at Bree, only he was not so obviously orc-like as most of these were." "I thought of him too," said Aragorn. "We had many of these half-orcs to deal with at Helm's Deep."
There you go.
Yeah.
And just as Merry said that those goblin faces, sallow, leering, squint-eyed, reminded him of the southerner at Bree, we saw just a moment ago, Sam made the exact same observation here at the end of the passage. And Merry echoed that, referencing the very passage we just read.
That's right.
It seems pretty clear.
Yeah.
Tolkien uses the word man several times.
But lowercase. He doesn't say men with the capital M. So I think we're just talking about male bipedal non-elves.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, they are men. They're just men that have some orc blood.
Yeah.
Because if they're half orcs, they're also half men. So you could call them either one.
But if they are men, they're very half orcish men.
Yes. sallow and squint-eyed.
I'm thinking of the Muppet song, the Man or a Muppet song.
Am I a man?
If I'm a man, I must be
or am I a Muppet?
If I'm a Muppet, I'm a very manly Muppet. If I'm a man, I'm a Muppet of a man.
I'm an orcish of a man.
Yeah. If
do
he's
like
a half
that.
orc, he's a very manly half orc.
There you go. If he's an orc, he's a mannish orc.
Anyway, sorry. That was silly.
Am I a man or am I a half orc? All right. No, I'm not going to sing today. No, will not happen. I will read, though. In fact, I'll read the very next passage.
I think you should. Let's do it. Oh, by the way, actually, before you read, I just remembered this. So that song, the Man or Muppet song, you know who that was written by, right?
No, I don't.
It was written by Brett McKenzie from Flight of the Conchords, who is the New Zealand actor who played Figwit in the Lord of the Rings
Oh, my
movies.
goodness.
Yeah. So
Frodo is great. Who is that? Yeah. Figwit.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what? He was in the Hobbit movies as they called him Lindir.
He actually had lines.
He did. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. He had speaking lines in that one. Yeah.
Which is funny because it means like song man, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And he is actually a musician. But
That's
he was
wild.
in a musical comedy duo called Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah.
Like in the 2000s, I think. With
that sounds about right. I had no idea though that he's the one
and
who wrote
Am
I a Man or Am I a
song.
Muppet for that movie.
Yeah.
We've come full circle, haven't we?
Just a weird Lord of the Rings connection. I had to bring it up because one of our listeners is going to think about it and they're going to say, why didn't you guys mention that? So, anyway.
We get that every episode. Hey, why didn't you guys mention this? That happens every single week, just to be clear.
Well, mostly because we didn't think about it, but
that's usually the case. Yeah.
We can't get everything. But anyway, I digress. You go ahead and read.
All right, I will. And hopefully Figwit is listening and can write us a song. The ruffians had clubs in their hands and horns by their belts, but they had no other weapons as far as could be seen. As the travelers rode up, they left the wall and walked into the road, blocking the way. "Where do you think you're going?" said one, the largest and most evil-looking of the crew. "There's no road for you any further. And where are those precious sheriffs?" "Coming along nicely," said Mary. "A little footsore, perhaps. We promised to wait for them here." "Gone, what did I say?" said the ruffian to his mates. "I told Sharky it was no good trusting those little fools. Some of our chaps ought to have been sent." "And what difference would that have made, pray?" said Mary. "We're not used to footpads in this country, but we know how to deal with them." "Footpads, eh?" said the man. "So that's your tone, is it? Change it, or we'll change it for you. You little folk are getting too uppish. Don't you trust too much in the boss's kind heart. Sharky's come now, and he'll do what Sharky says." "And what may that be?" said Frodo quietly. "This country wants waking up and setting to rights," said the ruffian, "and Sharky's going to do it. Make it hard if you drive him to it. You need a bigger boss, and you'll get one before the year is out if there's any more trouble. Then you'll learn a thing or two, you little rat folk." "Indeed, I am glad to hear of your plans," said Frodo. "I'm on my way to call on Mr. Lotho, and he may be interested to hear of them too." The ruffian laughed. "Lotho, he knows all right, don't you worry. He'll do what Sharky says. Because if a boss gives trouble, we can change him, see? And if little folks try to push in where they're not wanted, we can put them out of mischief, see?" "Yes, I see," said Frodo. "For one thing, I see that you're behind the times and the news here. Much has happened since you left the south. Your day is over, and all other ruffians. The Dark Tower has fallen, and there is a king in Gondor. And Isengard has been destroyed, and your precious master is a beggar in the wilderness. I passed him on the road. The king's messengers will ride up the Greenway now, not bullies from Isengard." The man stared at him and smiled. "A beggar in the wilderness," he mocked. "Oh, is he indeed? Swagger it, my little cock-a-whoop. But that won't stop us living in this fat little country where you've lazed long enough. And," he snapped his fingers in Frodo's face, "king's messengers, that for them. When I see one, I'll take notice, perhaps." This was too much for Pippin. His thoughts went back to the field of Carmallen, and here was a squint-eyed rascal calling the ring-bearer Little Cockawhoop. He cast back his cloak, flashed out his sword, and the silver and sable of Gondor gleamed on him as he rode forward. "I am a messenger of the king," he said. "You are speaking to the king's friend and one of the most renowned in all the lands of the West. You are a ruffian and a fool. Down on your knees in the road and ask pardon, or I will set this troll's bane in you." The sword glinted in the westering sun. Merry and Sam drew their swords also and rode up to support Pippin, but Frodo did not move. The ruffians gave back. Scaring Breeland peasants and bullying bewildered hobbits had been their work. Fearless hobbits with bright swords and grim faces were a great surprise. And there was a note in the voices of these newcomers that they had not heard before. It chilled them with fear. "Go," said Merry. "If you trouble this village again, you will regret it." The three hobbits came on, and then the ruffians turned and fled, running away up the Hobbiton road. But they blew their horns as they ran.
Oh, man.
Oh, love it.
So great. Very nice job.
Well, thank you. My throat may recover next month.
Right. That sounded like a tough one, but I mean, it's such a tense confrontation,
isn't it? I mean, you're waiting for the violence and the fact that it doesn't even have to happen because Pippin's just like, "Oh no, I'm not doing this anymore."
Yeah,
but we'll get to that.
Yeah, and I love that so much. But anyway,
so good.
Let's go back to the beginning, and I wanted to start by pointing out that these ruffians carry clubs, not other weapons, at least not here. I mean, we'll see later in the chapter that they have a few other things. They have knives, they have whips, and some of them
have bows and arrows. Yeah.
Yeah. But even bows and knives, you don't have to be a professional soldier to have those things, right? I mean, you could have a bow for hunting. You could have a knife for just, anything you need a knife for around the house.
Carving some kindling and things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that Tolkien is trying to underscore the fact that these aren't professional soldiers. This is a gang. These are thugs.
Yeah, that's exactly all they are. These are not soldiery of any kind. These are not trained. These are not well equipped.
Right.
These are not military in any way, shape, or form. They're just a gang of thugs. Yeah.
Right. Which, informs their reaction to
absolutely.
an actual soldier of Gondor flashing his sword.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which we'll get to. But anyway, typical of bullies.
Yep.
We start with the ruffians strolling out into the road, blocking the way of the hobbits with their clubs in their hands.
Yeah.
The confrontation begins with another closed road. A question is as to where the precious sheriffs are.
In the draft, it was interesting. They were actually told, "This ain't the road to Mitchell Delvin. And where's the perishing sheriffs?" Now, first off, recall the lockholes are in Mitchell Delving. That's what he was saying there. But I wanted to ask you, what do you make of the use of the word perishing here in the draft, Sean? I mean, they're not dying sheriffs. I mean, is this like maybe perish in the sense of decay, like not being able to be used for its original purpose, sort of like the way broccoli perishes in my refrigerator?
But meat never does.
No, meat never does. That's correct, sir. I know
Certainly
my
not
priorities.
At these prices.
That's true.
I actually did look this up. I found it in the Oxford English Dictionary.
Of course,
perishing actually has been in existence since 1605 as an intensifier. So there's examples in the OED like, a perishing wretch or these perishing crooks. Who do they think they are? So it's just an intensifier. It's not meant to be taken literally. It's just kind of like a PG rated curse, kind of like bleeding or bloomin' if you're Eliza Doolittle,
These bloomin' cockroaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's all it is.
That's
I know
all
it's kind of weird. I haven't heard that before. Maybe it's more common in the UK these days, but I've never heard it in the US.
I don't know. Interesting stuff. I also thought it was interesting that they were leaning against the wall outside the thing. This is the Scouring of the Shire, guys. If you got a lot time to lean, you got time to clean.
That's right.
Get to work,
Come
man.
On. Grab your CLR and a bucket and a sponge, man. Let's scour, baby.
That's right. Oh, man.
All right.
That's never going to get old. All right. Scratch that. It might. We still have 4 more.
It probably will get old.
Go.
We got 3 more episodes after this one. We'll see how many more times we can make that joke. So Merry tells the largest and most evil looking of these ruffians, who, again, as we've discussed, are half orcs.
Mm-hmm.
The one that he talks to isn't even given a name here.
No.
So again, this is kind of another of those dehumanizing moments, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But Merry tells him that the sheriffs are coming eventually.
Eventually. Yeah, they're somewhere down the road. This mini boss, and here I'm thinking in like video game terms. I mean, he's not even a boss, let alone like the end boss. He's just a mini boss.
Right.
He tells his buddies that, Sharky should have sent some men or some, half orcs rather than these hobbit sheriffs. And that confirms that the arrival of the hobbits here is not a surprise, right? They would have known about the orders to bring them to Bywater.
That's right. Here, though, he says, I told Sharky this. But in the earlier drafts, he refers to the boss. And he later says, or my name's not Sharky. So the name's actually moved around a bit. This guy was Sharky at one point.
Yes, he was. And I think that might be the reason why he just doesn't have a name here, because Tolkien's like, okay, fine. I've bounced Sharky around so many times. I'm just not even going to give this guy a name. And later in other episodes on this chapter, as we get deeper into the draft versions of the story, we'll talk about just how many Sharkies there seem to have been. In fact, those deep dives of the drafts might be a little longer than it can really fit in a sidebar. They might end up being material for our Prancing Pony Podcast Patreon postscript. So be sure to check out our Patreon.
There's a lot there, yeah.
How to listen to those extras, yeah.
Yeah. Now, of course, as we know, Tolkien eventually landed on Sharky being a name for Saruman. And once he did that, he ended up retconning this linguistically, saying in his nomenclature that Sharky is supposed to be a nickname modified to fit the common speech, in the English text anglicized, based on Orcish Sharku, old man. And then he goes on to add that the EY ending is diminutive and quasi-affectionate.
Quasi-affectionate. I love that.
How almost sweet.
I know, exactly. That's about as kind as orcs get, apparently.
Yeah.
Mary interjects, I love this, back to the text. Mary interjects, it wouldn't have mattered if you'd sent men instead of sheriffs. I mean, after all, we may not be used to having to deal with footpads here, but we sure as heck know how to handle them if need be.
That's right. Now, going back to an earlier draft, this was Frodo who said this, not Mary.
That's right.
Just we're going to try and point those out every chance we get, because it really does show the change in Frodo. Also, just a quick bit of word nerdery on a footpad. A footpad is basically a highwayman who robs on foot. This word goes back to the 1680s, and it basically comes from foot plus the word pad, which is not pad like the pad of not like the sole of your foot or anything.
No.
Pad is in pathway or footpath.
Right. Exactly. Well, this guy's not impressed, at least not yet, with Mary standing up to him. I mean, after all, keep in mind that every single one of the hobbits that have stood up to these ruffians over the last year or so, they've just been thrown into the lock hole. So it's not a big deal.
It's not like this is a rare occurrence.
No. It's probably a little rarer now because everybody who stood up is in the lock hole, so everybody's pretty compliant now. But it's not like they've never dealt with people, giving them lip.
Right. And he advises them not to trust too much in the boss's kind heart. A little bit of a threat here. He's going to take care of you guys. Right. In an earlier draft, though, he actually spells it out a bit more clearly. He says of the boss, he's soft enough, but he's only a hobbit. And this country needs something a bit bigger to keep it in order. Now here, that something a bit bigger is Sharky or Saruman. And the boss or the chief or Lotho is going to do what he's told.
Exactly. I mean, after all, as the ruffian explains, this country needs setting to rights, and that means a new boss installed by Sharky. Note this, Sharky's going to do it, but then he also says you need a bigger boss. Okay, I'm already getting signs of like the mouth of Sauron at the Black Gate when he talks about, the terms of the armistice, how you're going to give up Isengard and it's going to be given to a lieutenant. And, Saruman? No, somebody more loyal, talking about himself, clearly.
Right.
I think maybe that's what's going on here. He sees himself as possibly being the new boss installed.
That could
Sharky.
be. That's a very good suggestion there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, right.
You need a bigger boss. Now I'm thinking of Jaws. We're going to need a bigger boss.
We're going to need a bigger boss. I'm just thinking meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Oh, yes. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. I love that. Man, that song fits perfectly here, actually.
Right?
So since the current boss is already dead, spoilers, I guess they do need a new one. I mean, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, but we're not supposed to know that yet.
No, we're not. We're not. So sorry, Lotho.
And in fact, speaking of bosses and that very boss himself, Frodo actually says it's time to call on Lotho, who might want to know about this plan to replace him.
He might. It might not matter.
Probably won't care at this point, but
in Wormtongue's stomach, he's not going to care.
No.
If in fact that's where he is. I know.
And interestingly, in an earlier draft, we actually get a hint that Lotho might already be dead. This is This is telegraphed a little bit earlier at this point. But at that time, of course, he was still named Cosimo.
Mm-hmm.
And when Frodo tells this guy that he's going to speak to his cousin, Mr. Cosimo, the response is similar. Oh, he knows all right, though he pretends not to. But in the margin is written and then struck out, he knows all right, or he did.
Ooh, or he did, yeah.
Yeah, followed by, don't you worry about him. He sleeps sound, and I shouldn't try and wake him now.
Oh, yeah.
Chills. So we will see more on this again later.
Yeah, there's some more. In fact, yeah, I can't wait to get into part of the drafts there where Frodo's like, oh, I see it in your face. You are lying and you've killed him with your own hands. That's a totally different. I can't wait. That's so good.
Yeah.
So the confrontation here, the one in the actual text, it heats up with two threats, right? First is a threat against Lotho. If a boss gives trouble, we can change him. And then one against the hobbits, we can put them out of mischief. Now, this guy's clearly amping it up, ready to take action. Frodo is totally unimpressed. I love how absolutely chill Frodo is in response.
Yeah.
He brings the ruffian up to date, right? It's like sort of, Alexa, give me my news flash. And he actually says, all right, well, here you go. Dark Tower's destroyed. Isengard's been destroyed. Saruman's a beggar in the wild. Oh, there's a king. And it's his messengers are going to be coming through here instead of you, that is, bullies from Isengard.
And as awesome as that little update is, actually, Frodo's news is partly out of date, as we're soon going to find out. Saruman isn't a beggar in the wilderness at the moment.
Much to our chagrin, no.
So, Frodo, laying it down for the... he gets as a response, he gets this term that we talked about in today's Philology Faire, cock-a-whoop. That was far too much fun for an intro. Thank you, Alan.
It sure was. Yep.
Hopefully you'll still let me back on the show again at a future date.
We better move on before we get into more trouble. So,
Yep. And then the ruffian makes his final mistake.
Oh, yes.
Snapping his fingers at the non-existent king's messengers. Oh, king's messengers. I got your king's messengers.
Here's your king's messengers right here.
Finger snap.
And Pippin is just done. He has had it. He can't, right? That's all this is. I just can't. He's done. Yeah. Why are we even arguing with this guy? Why even give him the time of day? We are not going to reason our way through this conversation. And he remembers the field of Cormala. I mean, this is the place where the minstrel sang of Frodo the Nine Fingers, where the people were joined in praise for Frodo and Sam. A light to tay, a light to tay. And here he's looking at a grimy little half-orc calling him a little cock-a-whoop. I mean, come on. Yeah. We're done.
Yeah. I mean, just a few chapters ago, the free peoples of the West were praising Frodo.
Yeah.
The new year in Gondor is now going to start on the day his quest was accomplished.
Yeah.
This is significant, y'all. And here is a bully, just a petty bully, just trying to push him around. Pippin's incensed.
Yeah,
he throws back his cloak, pulls his sword, and he warns the ruffian. King's messenger? Oh, you're looking at a king's messenger.
That's right. Yeah.
And that guy over there that you just called cock-a-whoop, that's the friend of the king, and he's a hero. You get down on your knees for forgiveness, or I'm going to run you through.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Peregrine Took. You mocked my Frodo? Prepare to die.
You would not happen to have 6 fingers on your hand, would you?
The ruffian. That would have been brilliant.
I can't count that high.
I don't know, boss.
Well, in an early draft, Pippin actually said even more. He said, we are the king's messengers, and I am the esquire of the Lord of Minas Tirith.
Oh.
And here is Frodo of the Nine Fingers, renowned among all the peoples of the West.
Oh, man. Yeah, love that. Now, I also want to take a quick look at that Trollsbane line, right? I'll set this Trollsbane in. I'm going to run you through.
Oh, yeah. That's worth revisiting.
Oh, yeah. Back to Book 5, Chapter 10, The Black Gate opens for a reminder of Pippin's bravery and why this is absolutely no big deal for him to pull his sword on this half-orc, right? I mean, going back to that scene, he's on top of one of the 2 small slag hills outside the Black Gate with the armies of the West, getting surrounded by Sauron's forces. He'd drawn his sword, and I want to remind you that's the same sort of Westerness that Tom Bombadil gave him after the Barrow-Wide incident.
That's right.
The first assault of orcs was coming.
But through them there came striding up, roaring like beasts, a great company of hill trolls out of Gorgoroth. Taller and broader than men they were, and they were clad only in close-fitting mesh of horny scales, or maybe that was their hideous hide. but they bore round bucklers, huge and black, and wielded heavy hammers in their knotted hands. Reckless, they sprang into the pools and waded across, bellowing as they came. Like a storm, they broke upon the line of the men of Gondor, and beat upon helm and head, and arm and shield, as smiths hewing the hot, bending iron.
Oh, man. And these oncoming trolls make their way towards the hobbit. We read, "At Pippin's side, Baragond was stunned and overborne, and he fell. And the great troll chief that smote him down bent over him, reaching out a clutching claw, for these fell creatures would bite the throats of those that they threw down. Then Pippin stabbed upwards, and the written blade of Westernesse pierced through the hide and went deep into the vitals of the troll, and his black blood came gushing out. He toppled forward and came crashing down like a falling rock, burying those beneath him. Blackness and stench and crushing pain came upon Pippin, and his mind fell away into a great darkness."
Oh,
Yeah.
what
He didn't even get to know what he did with that sword. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Vivid moment. And then later, in Book 6, Chapter 4, the Field of Cormallen chapter, after the celebratory feast, the hobbits are all together with Gandalf and Legolas and Gimli. And the dwarf actually tells the story of what happened after that great darkness. So Gimli says, "I love you, if only because of the pains you have cost me, which I shall never forget. Nor shall I forget finding you on the hill of the last battle." And of course, he's talking to Pippin there. "But for Gimli the dwarf, you would have been lost then. But at least I know now the look of a hobbit's foot, though it be all that can be seen under a heap of bodies. And when I heaved that great carcass off you, I made sure you were dead. I could have torn out my beard. And it is only a day yet since you are first up and abroad again."
And just as a reminder, when he says, "I made sure you were dead," that was, I was checking to confirm. And of course he wasn't. It's not like Gimli was like slitting his throat. "I made sure you were dead."
Good clarification.
"I'm only mostly dead." So Pippin is not exaggerating at all when he calls his sword a troll's bane. His Westernesse sword, or dagger really for men of Westernesse, is one of only two that still remain from that gift of Tom, right? Remember, Frodo's was shattered when he stood up to the Witch King at the Ford of Bruin.
That's right. Yeah.
And Merry's withered and vanished after he stabbed the Witch King on the Pelennor. Sam's had been taken by Shagrat because Frodo had it in his possession when he was captured by the orcs. But that was recovered when Gandalf took it from the mouth of Sauron, and he gave it back to Sam at the Field of Cormallen, and he still has his.
That's right. That's a good catch.
It's just interesting to see, like, these swords, these are incredible swords. And the fact that they're not like rusty daggers like we see in the films. There's a story behind these. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So speaking of two of these swords being left, one of them is drawn here now by Sam, isn't it? Because we see Sam and Merry draw their weapons, and they come up to support Pippin. Frodo doesn't move. This is, again, in keeping with this change to him in this now final draft of the text. He doesn't move here. He's not participating in the fight here. And
no,
this is, I guess, as good a point as any to bring in a quote from Christopher Tolkien in Sauron Defeated.
Yeah.
In that book, he writes, "It is very striking that here, virtually at the end of The Lord of the Rings, and in an element in the whole that my father had long meditated, the story when he first wrote it down should have been so different from its final form, or that he so signally failed to see what really happened. Most of all because Frodo is portrayed here at every stage as an energetic and commanding intelligence, warlike and resolute in action. And the final text of the chapter had been very largely achieved when the changed conception of Frodo's part in the Scouring of the Shire entered."
Yeah, and that changed conception of Frodo's part is really, really big. And as we dive a little bit into the drafts in our future episodes on the chapter, especially the next two episodes, but also probably more likely in the P5s, because this material is going to get pretty deep and we don't want to do a 20-minute digression. But, so be sure to tune into those. So back to the text, as so often is the case with bullies, just a little show of strength and courage is enough to cause these guys to drop back. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, it's the classic bully thing. You stand up to them. It's what your parents always told you when you were in school. You stand up to a bully and they will back off. And that's exactly what we see here. Because, I mean, they're used to scaring weaponless civilians.
Yeah.
Not armed soldiers,
They're not even armed soldiers. So, yeah.
Right. Exactly. As we just discussed, these are just a bunch of thugs.
Mhm.
And observe this bit from the text when it says, there was a note in the voices they had not heard before.
Yeah.
And that terrified them.
Yeah, it did.
These new hobbits that they're faced with now, these are bloodied veteran soldiers.
That's
These
right.
people have, 2 of them have been to Mordor and back, literally.
One of them stabbed a witch king. One of them killed a troll chief.
Right.
I mean, this is serious. Yeah.
And these are some thugs with clubs.
Yeah.
I mean, they are quickly discovering just how out of their depth they really are.
Yeah, they definitely are. They are. They know they're about to get clobbered, so they run.
Yeah.
And they run, right? Merry tells them to leave, so they leave. Of course, he threatens them if they return. But as they leave, they are sure to blow their horns, raising the alarm. And I mean, it's just going to happen. There's no way you can stop that from happening.
I don't love that, but
No.
what can you do?
I mean, the only way, I don't know. What do? You put an arrow in their throat before they get the horn to their lips. But Frodo
But
might
I don't know
have
if any of
words.
these guys actually has a bow and arrow.
No,
do
that's a
they?
very good point. I don't think any of them are
Some of the other
configured for-
hobbits will later, but yeah.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
Wow.
Legolas, on the other hand, would have absolutely either would have shot the
Oh.
horn, splintering it, or shot him in the throat.
Yeah. You would die before your blast rang out. What?
He would have been doing it while doing a backflip or something,
Right,
some other
totally,
gravity-defying physics trick. Yeah.
Right.
From beyond the curvature of the earth.
I'm just thinking he would have shot an arrow
Oh,
that
yeah.
went past the ruffian who was running away, turned around like a boomerang, came back, went through the horn,
and we would have seen it from
And-
that perspective.
Yeah. and then it would have like gone into the guy's
The
mouth.
roof
and
of the
out back
mouth
his-
and then out
yeah.
the back of his head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely, I
would've
can
looked
storyboard that. It would have, yeah. All right. Well, Sean, why don't you read the last passage in today's episode?
All right. Well, we've come back none too soon, said Mary. Not a day too soon. Perhaps too late, at any rate, to save Lotho, said Frodo. Miserable fool, but I am sorry for him. Save Lotho? Whatever do you mean? Said Pippin. Destroy him, I should say. I don't think you quite understand things, Pippin, said Frodo. Lotho never meant things to come to this pass. He has been a wicked fool, but he's caught now. The ruffians are on top, gathering, robbing, and bullying, and running or ruining things as they like in his name. And not in his name even for much longer. He's a prisoner in Bag End now, I expect, and very frightened. We ought to try and rescue him. Well, I am staggered, said Pippin. Of all the ends to our journey, that is the very last I should have thought of. To have to fight half-orcs and ruffians in the Shire itself, to rescue Lotho Pimple. Fight? Said Frodo. Well, I suppose it may come to that. But remember, there is to be no slaying of hobbits, not even if they have gone over to the other side. Really gone over, I mean, not just obeying ruffians' orders because they are frightened. No hobbit has ever killed another on purpose in the Shire, and it is not to begin now. And nobody is to be killed at all if it can be helped. Keep your tempers and hold your hands to the last possible moment. But if there are many of these ruffians, said Mary, it will certainly mean fighting. You won't rescue Lotho or the Shire just by being shocked and sad, my dear Frodo. No, said Pippin. It won't be so easy scaring them a second time. They were taken by surprise. You heard that horn blowing. Evidently there are other ruffians near at hand. They'll be much bolder when there's more of them together. We ought to think of taking cover somewhere for the night. After all, we're only 4, even if we are armed. I've an idea, said Sam. Let's go to old Tom Cotton's down South Lane. He always was a stout fellow, and he has a lot of lads that were all friends of mine. No, said Mary. It's no good getting under cover. That is just what people have been doing, and just what these ruffians like. They will simply come down on us in force, corner us, and then drive us out or burn us in. No, we have got to do something at once. Do what? Said Pippin. Raise the Shire, said Mary. Now. Wake all our people. They hate all this, you can see. All of them except perhaps 1 or 2 rascals, and a few fools that want to be important but don't at all understand what is really going on. But Shire folk have been so comfortable so long they don't know what to do. They just want a match, though, and they'll go up and fire. The chief's men must know that. They'll try to stamp on us and put us out quick. We've only got a very short time. Sam, You can make a dash for Cotton's farm if you like. He's the chief person round here and the sturdiest. Come on. I am going to blow the horn of Rohan and give them all some music they have never heard before. They rode back to the middle of the village. There Sam turned aside and galloped off down the lane that led south to Cotton's. He had not gone far when he heard a sudden clear horn call go up ringing into the sky. Far over hill and field it echoed, and so compelling was that call that Sam himself almost turned and dashed back. His pony reared and neighed. "On, lad, on!" he cried. "We'll be going back soon." Then he heard Mary change the note, and up went the horn cry of Buckland, shaking the air. "Awake! Awake! Fear, fire, foes! Awake! Fire, foes! Awake!"
I'm ready to go. How about you?
Let's do
Let's
it.
do
Man.
it.
Let's throw down.
Exactly.
Dude.
I'm ready to get this thing going. So Mary observes that they've gotten here just in time, but Frodo notes that it is likely too late to save Lotho. Now,
I love this.
I do
love
too.
This
I do
compassion.
too.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, he immediately notes, look, he's a miserable fool. I mean, let's not sugarcoat this, but he still has pity for him. It's beautiful.
That's right. And I mean, like this is a reminder of the importance of pity and how far Frodo has come with pity, isn't it? And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment, actually.
We will.
But Pippin, he just does not get it. I mean, complete lack of understanding. Look at what Lotho has done, right? We need to destroy him, not save him.
Makes a point, but it's an incomplete picture, isn't it?
It's a solid point. But Frodo explains, look, Lotho he's done some bad things, some wrong things. He's made some mistakes. He's been wicked, not just a fool.
That's right.
So this isn't just folly. He actually has done some evil.
And even then, Frodo is arguing for pity. But part of that's because now that Lotho is in way over his head, and he is actually in somewhere way over his head, the ruffians are ruling in his name, and it's clear that even that isn't going to last much longer, right? Go back to that line that Ruffian said, if a boss gives trouble, we can change him. It's clear that he's not going to be here much longer. He is now just a prisoner. He's terrified, stuck someplace. He is in need of rescue, not of destruction.
Pippin, though, I mean, like, Pippin did not have this on his bingo card. He was not.
He did not.
Not remotely.
Coming back to the Shire.
To fight half orcs in order to rescue somebody that none of us like.
That nobody in the Shire likes.
That's true. Nobody in the Shire likes this guy.
Oh, my goodness.
But that brings us to a pivotal moment for Frodo here.
Yeah.
Okay, it might come to fighting, but if it does come to fighting, no killing hobbits.
That's huge. It really is.
Yeah.
And he points out, look, that's even true if they have actually become genuine bad guys, right? I mean, he makes some exceptions for like, these guys aren't bad guys, the ones who've just kind of gone along to get along and tried to do what they needed to do.
Yeah, like, your Hob Haywards and your Robin Smallburrows. These guys who just like, they just kind of...
Yeah.
They're going along with it because they have to. They're following, following orders.
But Frodo's saying not just them. Of course, we're not going to kill them, but we're not going to kill any hobbits, even the ones who have become genuine bad guys, which obviously Lotho would be one. Maybe you make the argument of that two-feather Shirriff boss could be another one.
There's probably some guys like that who are kind of leaning in on this a little more. The spies.
Exactly.
True.
Yeah.
But Frodo reminds his friends of the non-violent nature of the Shire's history. He says no hobbit has ever killed another hobbit on purpose.
That's a claim, man, isn't it? That's
amazing.
Huge.
This is new information, isn't it? I mean, that's huge.
Well, we've known all along they're peaceful, but that's incredible.
But no murders? I mean, there've been accidental deaths, sure.
Yeah.
There've been suspicions of murder, right? They thought Drogo was pushed out of the boat.
Oh, yeah. They thought that was a murder-suicide.
Right.
And there's I'm trying to remember who it was, but wasn't there a story like in the drafts where they thought that somebody pushed an old hobbit woman down the stairs?
Oh.
I can't remember who it was, though. Related to Pippin, I think. I think it was a Took somewhere in the
I do
line.
kind of remember that. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, where they thought that maybe she got shoved.
Yeah.
I have to look that one up. But yeah, I mean, this is a long history and a pretty populated, Shire to have gone all these years with no murders, with not even murders, like homicides, no intentional killing of another hobbit. That is amazing.
In almost 1,500 years of Shire history.
That's breathtaking, and it speaks a lot about who the hobbits are and their very core.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sort of goes back to that
amazing
line about they follow the rules, ancient and just, because they're the rules. you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they
maybe
really
so.
are a
Yeah.
law-abiding people.
Yeah. And maybe they have such a strong sense of cultural identity
Yeah.
that, I don't know. I'm totally.
Maybe. No, I mean, I think you might be onto something there, right? I mean, yes, they are sort of isolated. They've intentionally isolated themselves.
And they're kind of tribal too. You know,
are.
like
They're very tribal.
The Bucklanders don't trust the hobbits and folks and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm overstating it, but it does kind of seem like there's something that's binding them together. Something
Yeah.
that's keeping them from, like, you know, look, well,
I think it's the fact that they're so other from everybody else, right? They're not the dwarves. They're not the elves. They're not the men. And there's something about how hobbits have to stick together. Maybe. I mean, I'm reaching here.
you know, we'll argue, we'll not get along sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But we won't do
And I'm
that.
sure there'll be some fist fights. I'm sure there's some,
Sure.
you know, really violent confrontations at times.
Yeah.
Farmer Maggot was not afraid to beat Frodo within an inch of his life for stealing mushrooms.
That's true. That's true.
Pretty sure Sam and Ted Sandyman could go 12 rounds. But, you know,
That's
there's
for
a
sure.
difference between knocking somebody down and giving them a good whooping.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing here. I mean, though, it may also have to do with the fact that they're very, dowdy at bay, right? That they're hard to kill. So
True,
that may be it too. I don't know.
That could be.
Man.
I mean, yeah, it's really interesting to think about how things would be different if they weren't like this. I mean,
Oh my, if they were a bunch of murderous little rogues. Yeah.
does somebody like Lotho stick around for as long as he ends up sticking around if
Yeah.
hobbits kill each other when they get mad at each other? I don't know.
Oh man, now I'm thinking like gremlins or something. You know, they all look cute and harmless, and then it turns out they're a bunch of murderous crazies.
Right.
Or like the miners in Galaxy Quest.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Oh look,
They look so
they're
cute,
gonna help
and then
that
they're like
old one.
attacking and the big sharp teeth. Yeah.
Anyway, so, you know, Frodo takes this argument even further than just don't kill hobbits. He even says, no one, not even the ruffians, no one should be killed if killing them can be avoided. And I want to take a minute to talk through this a bit, because that's a pretty big philosophical statement.
Yeah.
I mean, first, there's the even if they've gone over to the other side. We talked about that a minute ago. I want to point out something that Hammond and Skull remind us of in their Reader's Companion. Contemporary readers of The Lord of the Rings, when it first came out, no doubt, they say, were reminded in this passage of the problem of collaborators in German-occupied countries in the Second World War. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're talking about 10 years that have passed since the end of World War II.
Oh, this would have been very fresh in people's minds.
Very
Absolutely.
fresh. What do we do about these people who are collaborators, and not just those who went along to get along and basically were, coerced into doing things, but those who
The ones who were actually
really on the side of the bad guys.
willing participants and really thought that the Nazis were, really thought that was the right side of history to be
I
on.
know, boy. Ooh.
Yeah. But, there's also this bit about, trying to avoid killing even the ruffians to the extent possible. I mean, look, it's easy to interpret this as advocating some form of pacifism.
Sure.
But if you read it carefully, Tolkien's not saying that. He's actually arguing not for pacifism, but just that violence should be the last resort.
Exactly. That always reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Isaac Asimov's Foundation. Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. It's a great line. I mean, not to say the hobbits are incompetent, to the contrary, but I admit the quote would need a lot of context to illuminate it, but it's not a Foundation podcast. It's a Tolkien podcast, for now at least.
For now, yeah.
But yeah, violence is the last refuge of the incompetent, is a line that bears a lot of significance in that story. And certainly here, the idea is, look, violence is it's a tool. And if we have to do it, that's fine. Frodo doesn't say fight. It better not come to fighting. He just says, if it does, therefore it is an option, then no killing of hobbits and no unnecessary killing at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is reasonable, right? I mean,
I think so.
It's a tool. Like you said, it's something that's available to them, but we're not going to use it unless we absolutely have to.
Right.
And I think it's even more than just that idea of violence as a last resort. I think Frodo is echoing the example we saw earlier in the book with Aragorn. Remember how Aragorn showed mercy even towards the forces that had allied themselves with Sauron, even, towards the men who had allied with Sauron. We read that the king pardoned the Easterlings that had given themselves up and sent them away free, and he made peace with the peoples of Harad.
That's a good point. Frodo definitely saw that. I'm sure that is somewhere in his mind, consciously or not. Makes me think a little bit of something that Tom Hillman explained in his book, and I know we've quoted this book a lot, and we're going to keep on doing so because it's fantastic. Pity, Power, and Tolkien's Ring. And this quote of Tom's also goes back to the Christopher Tolkien quote we brought up earlier. Tom says, by reassigning the martial aspect of Frodo's role as leader to Merry, Tolkien is not portraying Frodo as weak or shy of battle. Far from it. His more precise focus illuminates in this context what has been his purpose since the beginning, namely, to save the Shire, now even from itself, by means of the lessons he has learned about pity and mercy and himself since then.
Wow.
Saving the Shire even from itself.
Even from itself.
Wow. Get that book, folks.
Yeah. This is like true spiritual and ethical leadership.
That
for
is.
the Shire that
100%.
he wants to bring to them. And then Tom adds, if no hobbit has ever killed another on purpose in the Shire, Frodo knows a hobbit who once did so elsewhere with the unhappiest of results.
Yeah.
Gee, who's he talking about there?
I don't know, precious.
He will not have that happen here. To save the Shire at this point means to save the hobbits from their wrath at the ruffians, and especially at the hobbits who collaborated with them out of fear.
Wow.
So
I like that calling out of the collaborators too. Yeah.
What Tom is saying, that, Frodo wants to make sure that, we don't get into any kind of like mob justice situation where people are, where people are going to do things that they're going to regret. And Frodo has the wisdom to see that. And it's lovely. It really is such a lovely thing to see here. And again, it's so much more complex than just pacifism.
Yeah, exactly. It really is.
Very cool stuff. Well, back to the text. Merry, possibly confusing Frodo's position with a position of total pacifism, says, look, we're absolutely going to have to fight some of these ruffians if there's more than just a handful of them.
Yeah. I mean, we can't save the Shire without actual action. What does he say? Like, you're not going to save
Can't
the Shire.
save it by just being shocked and sad, which is a pretty sick burn, honestly.
It really is. I know. Yeah. That's pretty brutal takedown there,
Yeah.
Mary. Pippin concurs, right? Taking a few by surprise is one thing, but taking on a larger group who knows what's going on, who expects this, that's going to require violence. And so he suggests, hey, let's take cover for the night. Basically, let's prepare, make some plans, and move forward.
That's right. And Sam doesn't explicitly agree with Merry and Pippin about the fighting, but he does suggest that they go to Farmer Cotton's place for the night because, look, we're only 4, as Pippin said, and Farmer Cotton has a lot of sons who might be willing to help.
Yeah.
And by the way, he has a really hot daughter.
I'm sure that didn't fit into his calculations at all.
I'm sure seeing Rosie was not part of the calculus.
None
at all.
We talked about this, that is the sons of Farmer Cotton, back when Matt and I covered that part of the chapter, Mount Doom, when Sam was playing back his memories from home, naming all the Cotton kids.
That's right. There's young Tom, Jolly, Nick, and Nibs. And you did a Philology Faire on the family name and the names of the kids as well. That was episode 315, if folks are interested in hearing that.
Yeah, that was. Now, one last thing about the Cottons. According to Tolkien's unfinished index, the Cotton Farm is on south side of Bywater, reached by South Lane, which explains why, when you look up South Lane in the unfinished index, we read, it's in Bywater, leading to Cotton's farm.
There you go. And in the draft, they do end up heading there at this point.
Yeah.
And a lot happens from there. But it ends up becoming sort of a narrative dead end for Tolkien.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to talk about that in the P5 because that's too big of a digression even for us right now.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. So Merry, though, once again, being that sort of military commander, and boy, he's stepping into this role and doing it right. He doesn't think that hiding now is the right option. It's now or never. We've got to strike right away. Hiding plays into the ruffians' hands.
That's right. He says, no, we have to do something now.
Yeah.
And what we have to do is raise the Shire.
Yeah.
Everybody is ready to go, man. This place is a very similar analogy to like the common idiom of a powder keg, right? Like this place is a powder keg ready to blow.
Yeah.
We're the match.
Absolutely. And the ruffians, they may be not the brightest guys in the, they're not the sharpest knives in the drawer, let's put it that way, but they're not so foolish as to ignore the fact that we 4 hobbits here are the biggest risk they've faced since they've taken this place over. They are going to target us, and they are going to come down with overwhelming force to get rid of us.
That's
and he's right.
He's absolutely right. And you know what I just now thought of? When Merry talks about waking the Shire, getting the people mobilized, kind of reminds me of the Ents.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Merry was there he saw firsthand how the Ents were roused to go to war. And it's a very similar situation here, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
starting an avalanche.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
And,
too
you know,
late for the pebbles to vote.
I knew you were going to Kosh with that. But yeah, both the Ents and the Hobbits were kind of like isolationist at first. Didn't want to do anything. Don't do anything hasty. Don't rise up.
Yeah.
But Merry's seen firsthand how strong a people can be if they rise up like this, and I think it's interesting.
That's a good catch. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. Merry and Pippin
just now thought of it
that.
as we're talking about this. Yeah.
And yeah, I think you're 100% right.
Anyway, so Merry gives instructions to Sam. He says, okay, go to Cotton's farm, get him and get his boys together while I blow the horn of the mark, and I am going to get this fight going.
Let's get it started. Let's go back to Many Partings, just a couple of chapters ago, to take a look at this horn. And Eomer said, kings of old would have laden you with gifts that a wain could not bear for your deeds upon the fields of Mundburg. And yet you will take naught, you say, but the arms that were given to you. This I suffer, for indeed I have no gift that is worthy. But my sister begs you to receive this small thing as a memorial of Durnhelm and of the horns of the mark at the coming of the morning.
Then Eowyn gave to Merry an ancient horn, small but cunningly wrought, all of fair silver with a baldric of green. And writes had engraven upon it swift horsemen riding in a line that wound about it from the tip to the mouth. And there were set runes of great virtue. This is an heirloom of our house, said Eowyn. It was made by the dwarves, and came from the hoard of Scatha the worm. Eorl the Young brought it from the north. He that blows it at need shall set fear in the hearts of his enemies, and joy in the hearts of his friends. And they shall hear him and come to him.
More on that horn in just a second. I love that passage, though. It's
such a great passage.
And it's another textual ruin, too. I mean, it's Scatha the Worm and, Eorl the Young. And, until you get into those stories and Unfinished Tales, you don't know much.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So rich. So coming back to the text real briefly before we do another digression on the horn, they head back to the middle of Bywater because that's where all the roads come together. And that's where they are now going to go their separate ways.
That's right. So from there, Sam is going to head south towards the cotton farm. Not far down the road, Merry actually sounds the horn of the mark. And it's pretty awesome.
That's saying something.
Pretty cool.
Really
I think
is.
Eowyn undersold it, honestly.
Eowyn definitely underestimated it. The magic in this horn, and I want to talk about that. It reminds me a little bit of Boromir's horn, how there is definitely some sort of power beyond just a mere acoustic power, is so potent that Sam almost turns back. He has to push his horse onto the cotton. So let's do a little bit of a kind of chat through horn magic and compare it briefly to Boromir's horn, right? They're both described as having magical effects. Boromir's is not that they shall hear him and come to him. It's more like if you sound this horn within the realm of Gondor as it was at the time, so that includes the area where he's at Parthgalen,
right?
Then it's going to be heard everywhere, right? Everywhere in the realm is going to hear it.
Whereas the effect of this horn is that it'll set fear in the hearts of your enemies and set joy in the hearts of your friends.
Woohoo!
That's interesting when we see what Sam does, right? Sam almost turns back.
They shall hear him and come to him. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now we know to interpret Sam's action of trying to turn back and come to him as joy. This is, oh yes, it's my friend Merry.
That's right. It's like, let's go to his side.
Yeah. It's not fear. It's not, oh, what was that? It's not, oh man, alarm.
It's not even danger. No. Yeah, you're right.
It's not danger. It's, oh, that's my friend. I want to be by his side. We're going to draw swords together. If I can borrow another Rohan reference.
If I can grab a piece of paper and a pencil. This is a huge, let's put this in terms of D&D, right? This is a summons plus a buff plus a debuff to your opponent. This is a powerful, powerful artifact.
Yeah, absolutely.
In many ways, more powerful even than the Horn of Gondor. In the sense that it has an actual effect on the people who hear it, a magical effect in a way.
Yeah. Both the good and the bad. Yeah.
This is going to at least have your foes rolling disadvantage. It's going to probably give like a +2 to every roll of your friends. And it summons all your friends to your side. Yeah. This is awesome.
And probably advantage on that roll too.
+2. Yeah, I'm sure. Absolutely. Wow. So. Yeah. I love this horn.
It's cool.
It is.
It's cool. And when Merry blows it, then, he just blows the horn first, but then he actually blows the horn call of Buckland, doesn't he? this is interesting. He's blowing this hobbitish horn call on this ancient horn of the mark. But this is actually, if you remember way back in book 1, this is the alarm signal of the hobbits of Buckland, which they blow to call the hobbits to action against invasions.
That's right. And we saw this, or rather heard it, in chapter 11 of book 1, A Knife in the Dark. That was when the Black Riders burst into the house at Crick Hollow. They found it empty then because Fredegar Bolger had already begun to run. Wise man.
And after he arrived at the nearest house, they realized enemies were in Buckland, some strange invasion from the old forest. Whenever anything scary comes into the shop, it's always from the old forest.
We thought you were dead, died in the old forest, didn't you?
Right.
Oh, the old forest? That's trivial.
Right. And then they lost no more time. Fear, fire, foes! The brandy bucks were blowing the horn call of Buckland that had not been sounded for 100 years, not since the white wolves came in the fell winter when the brandy wine was frozen over. Awake! Awake! Far away, answering horns were heard. The alarm was spreading.
And whatever that tune is, and I kind of want to know what it is, that's the tune that Merry is blowing on the horn of the mark, and it's the cry, right? Fear, fire, foes, awake. Mm-hmm. That's the cry, and that's the tune that he's blowing on the horn of the mark right now. And, well, we're going to see the results next time, aren't we?
Yes, we are, and I can't wait.
Fantastic. Amazing stuff. Awake, awake, fear, fire, foes, mailbag, awake. Sean, what does Bartleman have for us today?
I don't know if that was a really good transition or a really weird transition.
I think most of them are just falling in the weird category these days. Yeah. I'm trying.
It's all right. It's all right. You're doing fine. Well, as we're recording this episode about a month before its release, we know that this mailbag discussion might seem a little bit dated, but we've had some Lord of the Rings related news hit recently. I mean, recently to when we're recording this, not to when you're listening.
That's right. It's about a week ago in real time on May 5th, 2024. Bernard Hill, the actor who played Theoden in the Peter Jackson films, passed away at the age of 79. On our social media channels and really across the Tolkien fandom, we saw a lot of reaction from people. And on our channels, we had a lot of people asking us for our own thoughts on the loss. And given our in-depth look at the films, we thought we'd honor that request.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that we're getting a chance to do this.
Yeah.
First and foremost, before we talk about him as Theoden, Bernard Hill was a human being whose loss was felt far more keenly by his family and loved ones than by us as fans of just one of his many film roles. So I want to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I really think that it's so easy in the wake of the passing of somebody who we all felt like we knew, right? That parasocial relationship.
Yeah.
The people who did know him are going to be a lot more grieving than any of us.
Yeah, I you're absolutely right. And I think it's easy to conflate him with the character that he played. And I think I feel very strongly that we need to separate these two. Obviously we love Bernard Hill's work primarily because of his role as Theoden.
Yeah.
But, it sounds silly to have to say this, but I think I felt like I saw lots of posts on social media that seemed to kind of like confuse the man with the character. And I don't know.
And I think it's because the character's strength in the films is dealing with death. And so,
that's true.
I mean,
that's true.
It'd be different if it wasn't a character who died on screen, who gave us probably the most moving death scene.
That could be.
Other than maybe Boromir's, right?
Yeah.
In the entire 3 films. And I think that probably makes it a little easier to conflate.
That could be.
But yeah, I think it is important to separate the two and certainly to honor who he was as a human and as an incredibly talented actor.
Definitely.
But then, of course, we can also talk about how his role as Theoden really was impactful for so many people.
Well, and as you said, because his character does have a prominent on-screen death and a beautiful on-screen death.
Yes.
It's certainly impactful. And I mean, look, he did a wonderful job in that role.
He did. Brings me to tears still even now.
Every single time.
I'm actually kind of afraid to watch it now. I think I'm probably going to cry even harder now, this is something.
He is, we talk about like Sam being the emotional core of the books. Theoden is one of those very emotionally resonant characters.
Yes.
We see so much through the way other characters interact with him.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Éowyn.
Yeah.
Even Éomer to a lesser extent, but Aragorn,
I'm thinking Merry
Gandalf,
and just his
Merry,
sudden love.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The love that he has for this old man and his desire to just serve him. And it's beautiful.
Yeah. Such a wonderful role and such a
Yeah.
wonderful portrayal of that role. And I
really
think
was.
Bernard Hill's performance, I want to say this, I think makes Theoden more human than a
Yes.
lot of the real mythic characters in the story. Obviously the hobbits are all very human,
Well, yeah.
but some of the characters are a little bit more mythic in their scope, but Theoden always seemed very human.
Yeah.
He was very fatherly, grandfatherly,
Yes.
And partly that's because we see him largely through Eowyn's eyes and, like you said,
Mhm.
Mary's eyes, both of whom view him as a father figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is sad because he's left such an impact on all of us as fans.
He really has. And I think there's also this sad reality that these films are nearly 25 years old, and many of the scenes that we've seen were shot actually 25 years ago or even more, because
Right.
of the
Yeah.
filming process. And a lot of these actors were not necessarily young even at the time of their roles. And this is the first, well, not the first because Christopher Lee passed away, but we're going to, I think, sadly see more of this as time goes on, because we are mortal. And whether it's Sir Ian McKellen or John Noble or any of the other, guys who were already a little older to begin with, we're going to start seeing those people pass away, and it's going to be sad. It's going to hit us because we've had such an emotional connection with these actors because they play characters who we admire or find fascinating or have a ton of respect for. And yeah, I think there's a little bit of that reminder of mortality. And of course, that's partly because Theoden himself, as played by Bernard Hill, is a character who reminds us of not of just of mortality, but of how to face that mortality with courage, with bravery, with determination.
And how to come back from an untimely death.
Yes.
He effectively was dying too soon when
he
we
really
first
was.
see him.
Yeah.
And he comes back from that, and he manages to overcome his own fears, find his courage, and then face death courageously at the right time.
Absolutely. And it isn't just us as fans of the films who were impacted by his passing. I mean, you can only imagine that those who worked with him on the Jackson films were incredibly sorrowful. And, they were deeply moved as well. Some of them have said some things. And the four actors who played the hobbits, right? So Elijah Wood, Billy Boyd, Dominic Monaghan, Sean Astin, they actually spoke at an event at Comic-Con Liverpool where Hill was actually scheduled to attend before his death. I guess he called in the week before to say he wasn't, or he canceled before his passing. And there, Sean said, we love him. He was intrepid. He was funny. He was gruff. He was irascible. He was beautiful. Billy said he didn't think that anyone spoke Tolkien's words as great as Bernard did. The way he grounded those words in a realism, he would break my heart. He will be sorely missed. And he sure made an impact on those around him.
He certainly did. And I love that quote from Billy Boyd.
I know, man.
Grounded Tolkien's words in a realism. And
he really did.
Maybe that's what I'm trying to get at when I say that, he felt more human.
Human. That's what I was thinking as well. Yeah. There was a relatability to the way he portrayed Theoden. And some of it comes back, I admit, to that one line that you and I have criticized, the line about no parent should.
No parent should have to bury
because of
their
course
child.
he would say no father because he's Old English. And that may be true, but the way he delivered that line with such poignancy, such heartfelt emotion.
Yeah.
Especially those of us who are parents. I could not help but weep every time I see that scene. And I feel like, it's grounded in a realism. He's able to bring real humanity to that character.
Yeah. And he kind of bridges between, Middle Earth and our world in a way.
Yeah, very much so.
He will be missed.
He will.
And like you, I'm kind of dreading the next time I watch those movies.
I know. It's going to be hard to watch that for sure. I'm kind of crying in advance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that wraps it up for another episode of the Prancing Pony Podcast. But come back again next week when Sam finally catches up with Rosie.
Alan and I want to thank the members of Team PPP. That's our editor, Jordan Rennells, Barlaman, Becca Davis, our social media manager, Casey Hilsey, event and Patreon community coordinator, Katie McKenna, graphic artist, Megan Collins, and website guru, Phil Dean.
And please take a minute to check out the prancingponypodcast.com. That's where you'll find show notes, outtakes, Prancing Pony Ponderings, and our online storefront where you can get PPP merch, including chapter-specific artwork for Megan.
And please take a moment to visit our library page. The Prancing Pony Podcast has always been about the books, so if you're interested in a book that we've mentioned on the show, you'll find a link for it in our library. And we do get a small amount of compensation when you make your purchase, so we thank you for that.
Indeed, we do. And we also want to thank our patrons at the Kierdance contribution tier. I'll start with DeMay in Alaska, Chad in Texas, Lance in New Jersey, Paul in Colorado, Joseph in Michigan, Kathy from North Carolina, Carlos in California, Brian in the UK, Ned from Connecticut, Jerry from Washington, Joe in Washington, Erwin from the Netherlands, Ben in Minnesota, Anthony in Texas, Zaksu in Illinois, Sarah in New Jersey, Joshua in Massachusetts, Lucy in Texas, and Keith in Alabama.
And there's also Erica in Texas, Carson in Oklahoma, Vivian in California, James in Massachusetts, Anne in Kentucky, Sean in New Jersey, Mason in California, Maureen from Massachusetts, John in Japan, Olivia in London, Robert in Arizona, Nick in Wisconsin, Lewis in South Carolina, Thomas in Germany, Craig in California, Bailey in Texas, Kevin in Massachusetts, another Paul in Colorado, and Julie in Washington. Folks, thank you all so very much for your support.
Indeed, thank you very, very much.
And everyone listening, please make sure you don't miss any episodes of the Prancing Pony Podcast. Subscribe now through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or whatever your favorite podcast app is.
And one last thing as always, don't forget to send your thoughts, comments, and most of all, your swaggering cockawhoops to Barliman at the prancingponypodcast.com, or send them to Sean. Sean wants them.
No.
And if you want your voice literally heard, well, just send us audio of your question. Visit podinbox.com/prancingponypod and record your question for us.
But please be sure to still email the question to Barliman, though. Even though Barliman's been a lot more reliable lately, there is still a lot of mail to sort through, but we will try to get to you just as soon as we're able.
As always, though, this has been far too short a time to spend among such excellent and admirable listeners. But until next time.
Farewell, friends.